Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how you can set up Eslint Prettier with TypeScript and React. So what is Eslint? Eslint is a linter. But what is a linter? A linter analyzes your code and lets you write code under some rules. So if you break any of these rules, it will show you error or warning so that you can write consistent code and follow the best practices, and you will see why this is useful. And what is Prettier? Prettier is an auto formatter for your code. It will automatically format your code when you save the file, or maybe when you paste the file, or when you are just typing. So you don't need to fix the spacing, the tabs or spaces, whatever you want. It will automatically fix that for you, and it is really helpful and it saves you a lot of time. Now for Eslint and Prettier to work on your text editor, you need a modern text editor. If you are using something like Notepad, that's not going to work. You want something like Visual Studio Code, NeoVim, Sublime Text or Atom. There's a lot of text editor out there. So go to your text editor, install the Eslint and Prettier plugin. And if you are not sure which plugin to install, just go to their docs. Let me see. Editor. Okay. And if you go to this page, you will know what plugin to use for your text editor. Also for Eslint, if I search for editor, so editors. So here you will find all the text editors. Just install the plugin for your IDE and you will be good to go. So let's set up Eslint and Prettier for our React project. For this video, I'm going to use Nextjs. If you don't want to use Nextjs, if you want to use something like Create React App, that's completely fine. All the principles are going to be same. And also I'm going to use TypeScript. And if you don't want to use, that's obviously okay. The principles are the same. So let's get started. So open up a terminal and go to the place where you want to create a project. I'm going to create a Nextjs project. So yarn create next app or npx create next app if you are using npm. So give your project a name. I'm going to call it Eslint Prettier TypeScript React YT for YouTube. So hit enter and it will install everything for us. Alright, our Nextjs app has been created. So let's cd into the folder. So let's set up TypeScript. If you don't want to use TypeScript, then you can skip this process. In order to set up TypeScript, we need to first create a tsconfig file. So touch to create a file, tsconfig.json. Now just run yarn dev to start the development server. Okay, now it is asking us to install this package. So let's install them. The TypeScript modules are installed. So let's run the server again. Yarn dev. Now Nextjs has inserted some configuration to our tsconfig file. So let's open up the tsconfig file on our text editor. So I'm going to use NeoVim. So this is the configuration file. Now I want to add a feature to the TypeScript, which is absolute import. And if you don't know what absolute import is, let me take you to my blog. So if I scroll down, by the way, the blog link will be on the description. Feel free to check that out. So this is a relative import. To import something from a file, we have to search for a file from the current file. So we have to go something like .. then our directory. And this could be annoying to type just ... multiple times. Instead, what we can do something like this: import user from models/user, instead of doing this relative import. So how are you going to do this? We need to add a new property, which is base URL, and it will be a string, and we need to specify our root of the source code, which will be src folder, where I am going to put all of the source code. Now this directory does not exist. Now what it will do is, whenever Typescript will see absolute import, it will start looking from src folder instead of current file. Okay, and we also need to add it to the include array. So src. Okay, that's it for the tsconfig. And now we have the absolute import feature on our Nextjs project. Now I can quit this. And now I'm going to create a src folder, mkdir src. I want this pages directory inside my source directory, so I'm going to move it to the source directory. And again, it is a GitHub repository, so I need to type git mv for move, then pages, and my destination source src, whatever you say. Now the pages directory in our source folder, and now we can install our Eslint and Prettier modules. Before that, you need to install Eslint globally. So if you haven't installed Eslint globally, you can do it by yarn global add Eslint. It will install Eslint globally for you, but I have already installed it. So at the root of your project, type eslint --init. Now it will ask you some questions. How would you like to use Eslint? I want to check syntax, find problems, and enforce code style. Hit enter. Then what type of module does your project use? Import export. Which framework? React. Does your project use Typescript? Yes. Where does your code run? Browser. How would you like to define a style for your project? Popular style guide, which is Airbnb. And what format do you want your config file to be in? I want JSON. Now it will ask you to install these modules with npm, but I don't want to use npm, I want to use yarn. If you are using npm, then you can go for yes. I'm going for no. Now to install these packages, what you can do is just copy each of this module name and install them. Or what you can do, you can go to my blog, and if I scroll down a bit, and you'll find the command for install the Eslint modules with TypeScript and also without TypeScript. You can copy it from here and paste it on your terminal. Alright, Eslint packages are installed. Let's install the Prettier package. So once again, I am going to my blog. I need this line. And paste it here. And this will just install the Eslint config Prettier and the actual Prettier module. Alright, they are installed. And by the way, a .eslintrc file has also been created when we did eslint --init. So if I show it to you, all the files. So this is our .eslintrc.json file, our configuration file. It's also hidden because of this dot. So let's open this file, .eslintrc.json. Okay, so this is our basic configuration file for Eslint. I want you to focus on extends property. It is an array, and this property extends our Eslint rules, and this array contains the configs that we have installed. We have installed the React and the Airbnb config, and we have also installed Prettier config. So I'm going to add it. This configuration extends the basic Eslint config. Okay. Now you can just randomly put an config inside this array. The last config has the most priority, and the second last config has the second most priority, and it keeps going on. So any rule that conflicts with Prettier, it will be turned off. So it will have the most priority over these two config, and you don't need to bother about other properties except the rules. This is very important. We know that Eslint have some rules, and just because the configs has some rules, that doesn't mean that you're going to like it. You might want to turn some rule off or turn on some rules. You can customize it however you want, and I'm going to show you in a minute. Before that, I want to set up the Prettier config file. So at the root, I'm going to create another file for Prettier config, which will be .prettier.rc.json. Now again, this is a JSON file. Now all of the configuration options are available on the docs. I will put the link on the description. So I'm going to go over my blog and copy this configuration and paste it here. And that's all I need for Prettier config. These are some basic configuration, like I want single quote, that's why it is true. I want to use tabs, tab width, the semicolon, I don't want semicolon, and JSX single quote, true, arrow parentheses, I want to avoid it, and so on. So we can close this file. Alright, let's open up our page files. So source, then pages. But before I open them up, I want to convert them from JS to TSX file. cd src pages. So get mv app.js to app.tsx, and again get mv index.js to index.tsx. Now we have TypeScript files instead of JavaScript file. Now we can open them up. And you are going to see a lot of errors. Whoa, this code is full of errors. Actually, they are not really JavaScript errors. You can still run this code and it will work fine. But they are not good code. That's why Eslint is showing us errors. The only real error that we have is on the line 3. It can't find the CSS file because we have moved our pages directory to source directory. So we have to go one directory back. Now it will work fine. So let's see what are the errors we have. If you notice the bottom of my text editor, there is a message react/jsx-filename-extension, and the message is JSX not allowed in files with extension.tsx. Now this is the rule name react/jsx-filename-extension, and this is the message. Now what it is telling us that JSX is not allowed other than .jsx file. How are we going to turn this off? So just go to Eslint rc file. Then inside the rules object, you need to specify the rule name that you want to modify. In our case, it is actually, I will just copy it from my blog. Here it is. I'm going to copy it and we'll paste it here. Now this is our rule name, jsx-filename-extension, and the value is an array, and inside the array we have specified 1, and 1 means warning. We want to have warning instead of error. And this object we have specified the extensions. We have given .js, JSX, TS and TSX. That means we can write JSX code in these extensions, TS, TSX and also JS. This should turn off this rule. If I go to index.js again, that rule, we don't have that error, the JSX filename extension error, but we have another error, which is React jsx-in-scope. React must be in scope when using JSX. If you are using Nextjs, you don't need to import React from React, so you can just turn this rule off. So what you can do is, again, the rule name react-in-jsx-scope. And you can pass a string as a value, so you can give off if you want to turn it off, or warn, or error. Now you don't need to add an array every time. You are going to use an array when you want to customize the rule with more options, and all of the rules and options are available on the docs. Please check them out. So I don't need this rule to be on, so I can do is just off. So save the file, and we should not have the error anymore. It has gone, and almost every error has gone. So let's test our absolute import feature. So inside the source folder, I'm going to create another folder. I will call it components. I'm going to create a file, hello.tsx. Let's create a boilerplate component. So inside the div, I'm going to create a h1, replace the div with h1, and you can put any text. And also you can see that we have some errors. You are seeing that no unused vars. That's because we have declared a variable, but we haven't really used it. You can turn that off, or you can turn it into a warning. I normally use it as warning. So let's just save the file. So in the index.js file, I'm going to import hello component, hello from. If I want to use relative import, I need to go one step back, then components, then hello. Now this could be annoying if you do it multiple times. Suppose you want to import multiple components from multiple files, so every time you have to go one step back, then components, and then the file name. This could be so annoying, so that's why we have set up absolute import feature. So let's use that. I'm going to delete these dots, and this is our absolute import. Now this is giving us an error. It is not actually TypeScript error, because TypeScript can find our file but Eslint can't. So this is giving us an error, which is import no-unresolved, unable to resolve path to module components/hello. So what you need to do is, in the config file, outside rules, this is not actually a rule, we need to add a settings property. So I'm going to copy the config from my blog, which is let's see, I need to scroll down. So this is our config, and we need to copy it. I will paste it here. Now if I save the file, it will automatically reformat my code. So now it is much more readable. So in the settings, we have a property which is import/resolver, which is an object, and there is another property which is node, and node is really an object. And there is an extensions array, and there is modules directory array. Now we are just saying that for these extensions, JS, JSX, TS, and TSX, if the import statement is an absolute import, then start looking from first node modules, then source. If you don't find any, then throw an error. Now why source? Because we have set up our base URL in TypeScript config as source. So if I save the file, the error should go away. Okay, so the no unresolved error has gone, but we have another error which is import order, and I think this is a good error. Eslint want us to use absolute import first, then relative imports. So there is a relative import and there is an absolute import. So we need to change the order. So cut it and paste it here and move this statement to the top. Okay, that error has gone. We have another error, which is import extensions. When you import files other than JS files, other than JavaScript files, you need to add extensions. So what we can do here is add another rule. So I will copy it and paste it here. Now in this rule, we are just saying for these extensions, we don't need to specify the extension name in the import statement. So if the file extension is not from one of these, then you need to add the extension in the import statement. So if you want to import a TS file, you don't need to specify the .ts extension. But if you want to import a JPEG file, you have to give the extension name. So that error should go away. So the extension error has gone, but we have another error, which is no unused vars, because we have imported the hello component, but we haven't really used it. So this is just an unused memory, and keeping unused data are not good practice. So this is why Eslint is so helpful, showing us an error so that we can remove these dead codes or unused codes from the file. So let's just use the hello component here. I'm going to delete this line and insert the hello component. Okay, now we don't have any error. Our code is now clean and good. So our code is now clean and maintaining best practices. So this is how you can set up Eslint Prettier with React and also TypeScript. So that's it for today. You can read this blog from culescoding.space website. I will put the link on the description. You can use it as future reference. And if you find any kind of mistake, then feel free to give a pull request. I will put the repository link on the description because the whole website and also the blogs are completely open source. I would be glad to have your pull requests. And if you want to use the Eslint configuration that I use for my projects, then you can go to this GitHub gist. I will put the link on the description. You will also find it on the blog. You can just copy the whole code and paste it on your configuration file and you will be good to go. I think I have covered everything you need to know. There are a lot of rules out there. If you find any problem, you have to go to their docs. If this video has been helpful for you, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. And also, if you have any questions, please comment down below. I will try to answer them. You can find me on any social media as thatonjohn. Feel free to follow there. I will also put the GitHub repository link of this project. So if you want to add any kind of new rules or anything, just give a pull request. And that's it, and I will see you next time. Until then, stay safe. Goodbye.